Hello? I would like to schedule a call with you to talk about your event for 15 minutes. Would you like to schedule a call? What's up, everybody? Benji Bruce here, speakinglifestyle.com. I want to talk about scheduling calls with events. Do you need to schedule a call in order to actually book the event? I see this a lot with speakers. They'll send an email, they'll cold email, and then in the cold email, they'll say something like they'll pitch themselves, and they'll say, I would like to schedule a 15-minute call with you to talk more about your event. Now you're thinking to yourself, that's the right thing to say. That's what you're thinking. You're thinking, if I were to get them on the phone, I'll build rapport with them. And when I build rapport, they're going to hire me over other events. Like that's what you think is going to happen. But that's not what actually happens. So I want to talk about in terms of like, do you need to schedule a call with events in order to actually get booked in general? And so, like I said, a lot of people think in terms of it's building rapport, but it's really not. Building rapport, it kind of depends on when you're actually doing the thing, and it depends on when you're asking for the call if you want to talk to them on the phone. I personally don't want to talk to people on the phone. Like I'm like, man, I ain't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time to talk to you. Oh, you're gonna pay me $1 million? Man, I'm not gonna talk to you on the damn phone. You can talk to my assistant, son. That's how I roll. No, so essentially with rapport is really created through commonality. It's not just by asking them for a phone call. And so a lot of people say things like, well, but I mean, I did this before. I talked to them on the phone and that's why I got the gig. No, 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 no. You got the gig because I guarantee they saw a video of you. They saw your website. How about instead of showing them your website, just try to schedule a phone call and don't show them anything of you. Like just try to talk to them on the phone and close the gig on the phone without them seeing any video, any website whatsoever. Then we'll see if it's because of the phone call or not. And so I know a lot of people think that the phone call actually helps. In reality, it doesn't really help all that much. In reality, your website is really doing the selling. And so what events want to know is they ultimately just want to know that you have their best interests at heart. That's ultimately what they want. They just want to know, like, hey, are you a bomb ass speaker? And when we hire you, are you going to do a great job? That's ultimately what they want to know. So if your website can actually sell that, then you definitely don't need to talk to them on the phone. And think about how the pipeline goes. The pipeline goes from incoming questions, quote, contract closed. What you're doing is you're trying to push them through this pipeline as fast as possible. There is no incoming questions, call, quote, like there's not this incoming questions, quote, contract close. And that's what you're doing in terms of your pipeline. And so what I've noticed is that speakers or just people in general, they do it at the wrong moment. There's nothing wrong with asking for a phone call, but if you ask for it at the wrong moment, you've lost. What I mean by that is a lot of people, their initial email will say something like, hey, I'm the greatest speaker in the world. I would like to schedule a 15-minute phone call with you to talk about your event. They're thinking to themselves, who the are you? Who are you? What are you talking about? Taking 15 minutes of my time. I'm not even going to allow you to spend 2 minutes of my damn time. I don't know who you are. So you don't ask for it in the beginning, because when you ask for that phone call in the beginning, you're selling them. When you ask for it towards the end, you're collaborating with them. So it's really a matter of when you ask for that phone call if you want to talk to them on the phone. So let me read you something that I would actually say well, this is what I did in the beginning when I was like doing phone calls as well. So I would actually say this. So like, as soon as we're talking through the email, I'm pitching them, hey, I'm the greatest speaker alive. And I would say all this stuff in the email. Then they'd be like, okay, well, how much does he charge? Blah, blah, blah. We go through the whole thing. And then once I actually booked the gig, or maybe like a little bit before it, I would say something like this. I would say, look, after we have you on the calendar and the deposit is sent, I would like to schedule a 15-minute phone call with Benji and John to talk about the event. So do you see the difference between you're going through the conversation and then you say, hey, essentially after we have you on the calendar and the deposit is sent, I'd like to schedule a 15-minute phone call with Benji and John to talk about the event. Something like that. It feels more like we're collaborating about the event rather than me just trying to like just sell them. And so you got to remember that in the beginning, you don't have their attention. You don't have anything like from them. And so when you ask someone to talk to them for 15 minutes on the phone, they're thinking to themselves, who are you? That's literally what they're thinking about. It's like, What? Who are you? I get this all the time with emails when people say, "Hey Benji, I'd like to schedule a 15-minute call with you to talk about so and so." In my head, I'm like, you've shown no value whatsoever. And so the 15 minutes, it takes up time. I'd rather spend the 15 minutes doing something else. Same with them. And so you have to know when to ask for the phone call if you want to ask for a phone call. But once again, you don't really need to ask for the phone call. The pipeline goes incoming questions, quote, contract close. So when you send an email, you're pitching them, they seem interested. They're now an incoming lead. Like, hey, what do you charge? All that sort of stuff. Next thing you do, you ask them questions. Well, how many people at the event? When is the event? Blah, blah, blah. What are the other speakers? Blah, blah, blah. You're asking them questions about the event. As soon as you get those questions, what's the next logical step? You quote them a price. There's no reason whatsoever to hop on a phone call. There's zero reason. It's just, all right, what's the information about the event? Once they tell you, okay, here it's going to cost $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $1 million, whatever you want to charge, you tell them exactly what it's going to cost. What's the next step after you tell them how much it's going to be? Now you say, all right, here's the contract. Who do I send the contract to? This is the moment where you can ask for a call. So when you're towards the end, when you quote the price and you say it's going to be $10,000, by the way, here's the contract. Who do I send it to? What I'm going to do after we have the deposit and the contract sent, I would like to schedule a 15-minute phone call with Benji and with John, or whoever the person is in charge of the event, with Benji and John to talk about the event so Benji can get more details, any details that he needs. So that is the right time to ask for the phone call, not when you're pitching in the beginning, because once again, they're thinking, who the are you to ask for 15 minutes of my damn time? So you need to know when to ask for it. And what really changed the game for me was when, once again, I mentioned this a few times in terms of WWTRD, like, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Well, I changed it to WWTRD. I said, what would Tony Robbins do? If someone were to talk with Tony Robbins and they were to say, or they want to book Tony Robbins and they were to say like, hey, we love to hire Tony Robbins, but we need to talk to him on the phone first. Do you think you're really going to get Tony Robbins on the phone just by saying that? You think that you can just get him on the phone without sending a deposit about the event? Absolutely not. And so that's what I started doing. I said, okay, does an in-demand presenter need to talk to anybody on the phone unless he wants to? Like, he doesn't need to talk to anybody on the phone because, hey, he's in demand. He's doing his thing. And so that's essentially what I thought about. I said, okay, you simply cannot, you can ask to talk to him before you hire him. Like, you simply will not be able to talk to him. And I remember I talked with a lady who hired Gary Vaynerchuk, and I asked her, I was like, well, what was the process like? All right, so you went to his team, like, were you able to talk to Gary like before the event or what? She's like, absolutely not. Like, there's no way we could get Gary on the phone unless we like actually sent them the money. And so that's what in-demand presenters do. And so that's essentially what I decided to do. I mean, I focused more on Tony Robbins because Gary wasn't known back then, but I focused like WWTRD. And so that's essentially what I did. And so, what the hell did I just write? Oh, yeah. So that's the other thing. Events never really ask to talk to you on the phone anyways. Like, I've only seen speakers mention this. I've only seen speakers actually send emails saying like, oh yeah, when I talk to them on the phone, I really close the gig more. Or, oh yeah, like I want to talk to you on the phone. Like, I've only seen speakers mention that. I've never actually really seen events say that. Events, that once again, they're busy. They're like, I don't need to talk to your ass on the phone. We got your website. We got your videos. That's all I need to make a decision, damn it. They don't need to talk to you on the phone. What speakers tend to do, they create these what if scenarios in their head. They're like, well, what if an event actually says, hey, can I talk to you on the phone? What do you do in that case? Like, what do you do, Benji? And I simply say, well, did it happen to you? Or is it happening right now or what? And so a lot of speakers create what if scenarios in their head instead of actually just plowing ahead and waiting until it actually happens. Something like that is not that big. If someone says like, hey, can we talk to you on the phone? I mean, it's not really that big. And so make sure you're not creating these what if scenarios in your head, just not only with the phone, but with everything else in general. So it's not that you can't talk on the phone. It's that you need to know when to ask to talk on the phone if you want to talk on the phone. Ultimately, you're going to ask to talk on the phone once the gig is damn near booked. Like, in the beginning, you do not ask to talk to anyone on the phone because, once again, you're saying, hey, can I spend 15 minutes of time with you? They're thinking, who the are you? That's what they're thinking. They're like, who are you? Why would I spend 15 minutes with you? Like, if I spend 15 minutes with you, then this person has 15 minutes. This person has 15 minutes. Now I got nothing. I mean, I've got other stuff to do during the day, man. And so you just need to know when to ask. So in the beginning, you don't ask because it's just like you're just trying to sell them, versus towards the end, it's more like you're collaborating with them in terms of like, here's how we're going to make your event better. And bam, that's how you do it. That's how you roll, son. Get them, got them, good.